Hey everybody, welcome back to Idiot-Proof Cooking. I've had a couple of requests now to do a video on how I make my pulled pork. Now there's really three ways that you can do it. You can either in a slow cooker, in a pressure cooker, or you can smoke it. Now, personally, what I wanted to do is get out my smoker and smoke it for a few hours and show you how to do that. But I have had comments where, hey, Will, this is Idiot-Proof Cooking. You should show people how to do the idiot-proof, the easiest way to do it. Which makes sense. You know, not everybody has a smoker. So it was either between a slow cooker or a pressure cooker. And I'm going to show you how to do it in a slow cooker because I figure more people have one of those over a pressure cooker. Now, cooking it in a slow cooker is perfect. You throw it in the morning before you go to work. You let it cook for 8 hours until it tenderizes and just becomes super tender and delicious. When you get home from work, you throw your sauce in, you mix it all around, and you're good to go. So, without any further ado, let's get into it, and I'll show you how to make this. Alright, so let's start this off. What we'll want to do first is make a nice rub to cover the pork in while we slow cook it over the next 8 hours. Get yourself some brown sugar and pour into a bowl about a quarter cup of it. Up next is a teaspoon of mustard powder, and then a tablespoon of garlic powder, pour those in, and then add in a tablespoon of ground cumin, and approximately a tablespoon of ground black pepper. You know, you can eyeball all of this. Then in a tablespoon of chili powder, I like to use chipotle chili powder, and then another tablespoon of smoked paprika, or regular paprika if that's all you have, then a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, a good sprinkling of kosher salt, and mix this all together until it's good and combined. And now hey, look at you, you've made yourself a rub, and man was it ever easy, eh? So anyways, get your slow cooker out, but set it aside for a moment, because what we're going to do first is make ourselves a bed of onion to place the pork upon. Get yourself a large white onion and just roughly cut it into strips, because we're going to just loosely put it down in the slow cooker to rest the pork on while it's cooking, like you can see here. Like that, there you go. So set this aside again, and let's get out the pork that we're going to be using. What you'll want to do is use a pork shoulder. You can either get it deboned or bone in. I bought one that was already bone removed. So cut this into a couple of larger chunks, like you can see I'm doing here, and then get out your rub and generously coat all sides of it until it's good and coated, like you can see I've done. This is just going to taste fantastic after slow cooking for about 8 hours. Now that the pork is good and covered in your rub, go get your slow cooker back and carefully place all the pieces of pork on top of your bed of onions. Next up, you'll want to add some liquid into your slow cooker, so use 1 to 2 cups of chicken stock. Now if you don't have homemade chicken stock, just use the box stuff like I did. But anyways, throw some chicken stock in, put the lid on, turn your slow cooker to slow cook, which will take about 8 hours to cook this, and then literally do nothing with it. Just let it slow cook for 8 hours. Like I was saying earlier in the intro, it's perfect for if you want to just cook it in the morning before you go to work, and then it's ready to go when you get home at the end of the day. So the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is make your own barbecue sauce. You can just use the store-bought stuff if you want. I mean, hey, that's really idiot-proof. But if you want to up your game, I'll show you how to make a homemade barbecue sauce. Start off with about a quarter to a half cup of ketchup poured into a saucepan, 2 to 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, a couple good glugs of Worcester sauce, another like about a tablespoon or 2 of your favorite hot sauce. I'm using Frank's. Add in a quarter cup of brown sugar, a couple cloves of freshly crushed garlic. I used 3 because I like my sauce more garlicky, so adjust to your preferences. Add in a tablespoon or so of honey, and then for a smoky flavor, add in a few dashes of liquid smoke. Now be careful with that stuff. If you put too much in, it will make the sauce bitter. And then lastly, throw some of your dry rub in, mix it all together, give it a taste test to make sure that you like it. In my case, I thought this was amazing tasting. And then simmer on a medium heat on your stovetop for about half an hour until it thickens up. Okay, and back to the pork. It's been about 8 hours. As you can see, it's nice and cooked. It's really just falling apart while I'm lifting it up, which is a good sign. Obviously, it's nice and tender. So what you do, take it out, put it in a separate bowl, and then also pick out the onions that you cook the pork on, because these are just going to be jam-packed full of flavor, and they'll go great on a pulled pork sandwich. So anyways, get yourself 2 forks and just start pulling the pork apart until you get like nice long strands of it. It's all good and ripped up like you can see I've done here. It already smells amazing. I can't wait to try this. So the next step is go get your sauce and pour it into the pulled pork and mix it around. Now I typically will only use about 1/3 to 1/2 of it and mix it all in because I like to set some aside and then just drizzle it on top of my sandwich. I don't want to completely cover the pork and make it just taste completely like the barbecue sauce I've made. So after you've mixed it in, get yourself a nice bun, cut it open. Now as a side note, the bun I made here, you can see the recipe to make that by checking out my Wendy's Baconator episode. I'll throw a link in the description. It just came out a couple days ago. So anyways, cut the bun open and then toast it for a couple minutes to get a little bit of color and a little bit of crunchiness to it. See, just like that. That's perfect looking. So anyways, start stacking up the pulled pork on your bun. I like to go real high. I like to have a nice high pulled pork sandwich. As you can see, that's what I'm doing here. A couple of good scoops. And then I'm going to throw in a couple of onions that I cooked alongside the pulled pork. Now this isn't for everybody, but I really like the taste of the onions with it. I think it complements the flavor really, really nicely. And it just tastes really good at the end of the day. Lastly, get some more of the barbecue sauce. Like I said, I like to drizzle it on the top. And this way it's the best of both worlds. I like my pulled pork to be a little bit more saucy. My wife doesn't like as much sauce on it, so that way we don't have to, worry about if it's too saucy or under saucy. You can just drizzle a little bit more on if you want it. Now let's take a close-up of this, and holy is that ever gorgeous. Just look how picturesque that is. Let's go in for a taste test, and oh my god, it is so good. Oh, just amazing. Tastes so good. Like, the barbecue sauce is just so rich and smoky, and the pork itself is rich and just so tender. The onions just, like I said, they complement the taste. And I mean, hey, the bun is just fantastic because it's got a nice little crunch to it, but overall this is just so good. And literally so easy to make. Like I showed you, you just throw it in a slow cooker and let it sit for 8 hours. But that's the end of the episode. Like always, I hope you like what you saw here today. If you did, drop me a comment, like the video, or even subscribe to the channel. We'll catch you again soon on 80 Proof Cooking. Thanks for watching.